regardless of where you came from, regardless of your status, you know, socioeconomic status, regardless of your race, religion, culture, creed, gender, all of those kinds of things aside, can we give you what you need to achieve that success? That, I think, is educational equity.
In the United States of America, the quality of education a child receives is inherently tied to factors such as socioeconomic status and race. Although local public school funding is sourced from property tax revenue, which disadvantages students from low-income backgrounds, state and federal funding attempts to level the playing field. A notable example of this is the Title I program, which provides additional funding to local education agencies and schools with high concentrations of poverty.
Equity or equality is not giving everyone the same, but rather recognizing that everybody comes with different supports from home and from their own backgrounds, and that the school should be the equalizer. And so that means giving everybody different depending on their needs.
However, this is not always effective. The most recent federal data shows that the poorest 25% of school districts receive 3.4% less funding per child than the wealthiest 25%.
This disparity historically and currently means that students in high-poverty schools receive less educational resources than their peers in low-poverty schools.
If you look at the whole sweep of American history, dividing people up by race, ethnicity, gender, wealth, income, geography has been far more the norm than trying to bring everybody together. But if we want to be a real democracy, then we need real educational equity and inclusion.
Racial biases also have a substantial influence on education. Researchers at American University discovered that when Black and white teachers evaluate the same Black student, white teachers are 30% less likely to predict that the student will obtain a college degree.
In the past 4 years, the issue of school choice has dominated education policy. President Trump's Education Secretary, Betsy DeVos, has fought to cut public school funding in favor of education savings accounts, school vouchers, and tuition tax credits, and tended to defray the cost of attending private schools.
It's time for us to introduce more opportunities and more perspectives and more approaches to preparing young people to be everything they can be in their futures, and to do so in a way that empowers families to make those choices and make those decisions on behalf of the kids that they know best.
The National School Boards Association and many others oppose private school voucher programs as they can exacerbate inequity.
The whole choice thing is just a fraud run by Betsy DeVos, and it's an effort to privatize the schools, turn them into a for-profit business, and undermine the commitment to inclusion for everybody.
Alarmingly, studies of voucher programs show either no student improvement or show evidence of lower student performance, as seen in school systems in Michigan, Florida, Indiana, Louisiana, Ohio, and Washington, D.C.
Studies have also proven that there are plenty of more effective options to improving American schools, such as investing in teacher training, early childhood education, nutrition, and after-school and summer enrichment.
Secretary DeVos's diversion of public school funds to school voucher programs comes alongside her advocacy for overall cuts to the education budget. In addition to downsizing the Department of Education by 11%, Secretary DeVos has additionally sought to cut funding for the Special Olympics, Office for Civil Rights, student loan aid, and more.
So the fundamental principle and the underlying philosophy on which you move forward and cutting all these programs and move to a $5 billion for vouchers flies in the face of the progress that's made.
Secretary DeVos has also spearheaded policies that have been detrimental to students' rights, including the revocation of a guidance created under President Obama to allow transgender students access to facilities according to their gender identity.
Under Secretary DeVos, the Department of Education is less likely to act on students' rights cases. 91.5% of complaints were closed or dismissed in 2019 as compared to 65.4% prior to 2017. This means that only 1.8% of students who file complaints today have their civil rights concerns addressed.
Moving forward, it is imperative that the 117th Congress and President Biden's administration collaborate to make education more equitable while defending students' civil rights.
we don't need to raise more money at the state or local level. We need the federal government to step up and do what they've promised and never lived up to. We need them to give us additional funding so that our education systems throughout the nation can continue to live up to that whole ideology of the American dream.
We urge the new Congress and Secretary of Education to strengthen the Title I program and shift away from school choice in favor of policies that have been proven to benefit students.
Hopefully the new administration can lead a discussion around what's the value of the education system and how can, as a society, we value more, educators and the work they do.
There is a critical need for substantial reform of the American education system.
We are hopeful that this new Congress and President will initiate extensive reforms and usher in a new era of education policy.